Almost 2 weeks ago, Netflix dropped its Beckham docuseries, giving viewers perhaps the most access ever to the soccer star subject. That has less to do with the project's 4-plus-hour runtime, however, than it does with the fact that David Beckham, for all of his fame, has never been much of a talker. I don't think the guy ever sat for more than 20 minutes in his life and talked about himself, Fisher Stevens tells The Hollywood Reporter. The documentarian, The Lincoln Project, Bright Lights, Before the Flood, and actor Succession, Asteroid City, who directed and produced the instantly popular series that still sits atop the streamer's global top 10. Spent days with David Beckham to coax out some candor on his complicated career and personal life. The result is, yes, a documentary whose subject is also one of its producers. But it's also as thorough a portrait as anyone's gotten of a singular figure in sports and popular culture, in his equally famous wife. There is a moment from the first episode that has circulated a lot. In it, David crashes his wife, Victoria Beckham's interview after she claims to have grown up working class and makes her admit that her father drove her to school in a RollsRoyce. Did you realize how well that exchange would play with viewers at the time? It was our first interview with Victoria, and, honestly, I had no idea David was listening. He was supposed to be taking his daughter, Harper, to school. I guess he got back and decided that he was going to kind of listen into the interview. I have a great cameraman, and he just knew to just go right on his face when he popped him beyond the door. I knew it was great, but at the same time, oh my God, I told him he had to leave. I'm like, dude, you've got to get out of here and let me talk to your wife. Come on. But I was really glad we got that. David's not known for being a talker, which is something that's addressed in some of the archival footage. What kind of assurances did you get that he'd be a little more open? Well, he sold me on that. He told me, I want to do this. I watched a lot of interviews with him, and I knew that I needed to go at it a different way, shoot it a different way, and make him feel comfortable. I needed a lot of time with him. Victoria is much more facile with language and talking and feelings and emotions. David has shut most of it down, so I knew it would take time to get it out. I think he's just at a place in his life where he's finally ready to relive moments that he's pushed away. British people, not to generalize, they're not the most talky-feely about their lives and their emotions like Americans are, with David and his production company being involved and knowing he didn't have final cut. What were some of the things you disagreed on in terms of including? I just said, if I'm doing this, we have to talk about your whole life. Everything, the ups and the downs. To him, the 2003 stuff in Madrid, the tabloid stuff was really tough for him. It was also really tough for him to get into the breakup with former Manchester United manager, Sir Alex Ferguson. It wasn't like he didn't want to, but he struggled. It still hurts to this day. And I didn't include it, but I brought up the Qatar World Cup stuff. Beckham was widely criticized by the LGBTQ community for his role as ambassador to the event, given the host nation's human rights record. It just didn't feel like it fit in this movie. I brought up the knighthood, too. Beckham is a rare British figure of his stature to not receive a knighthood. It just didn't seem like we needed it. If you look at this 20 years from now, who gives a shit about that stuff? Speaking of Sir Alex, who was the hardest interview to book? Well, I never got former Team England manager Glenn Hoddle. He refused. Sir Alex was not easy to get. There's still a love for David, but he had his illness and his own documentary. When I did get him, it was a very finite period of time, supposedly. I was very nervous, and then recognized me from Succession. He was a huge fan of the show, and Brian Cox is a good friend of his. So immediately he warmed up and gave me more time. He talked about everything.